Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode. On this episode, I'm going to be talking about the Cajun Gun Works parts for my 75B. My 75B, pretty much bone stock. I have changed the factory grips here to G10 grips. These are cool hand. I found them on Amazon, and it does have True Glow night sights that I installed with the sight pusher that I got on Amazon also. I really do like these night sights. Work really well. They also have orange. I have orange on my SPO1. These ones are white. I have the white ones on this and the 75 compact. So I already got some Cajun Gun Works parts and I put them on my 75 SPO1, and I was impressed by the difference in the trigger pull. Now I have this generic trigger pull gauge, this cheapy thing here. Now it only goes up to 8 pounds. So I already figured out that I can't test the double action trigger pull because it's over 8 pounds. So this gauge isn't going to work for that. But I do know that it did reduce the double and single action on my 75 SPO1. I just don't know how much for the double action. I do know for the single action it is now 3.5 pounds. And using this gauge, I did test the 75B, and it is at about 5 pounds factory. So I do guesstimate that it is going to be 3.5 pounds again, because the parts that I got are very similar. So for the SPO1, I got the basic parts kit, and then I also got recoil spring because the factory recoil spring was super heavy, like 20 pounds or something. It was super beefy. And then I bought a 14-pound one, tried that out at the range. It worked just fine. Then I installed the kit, and I still haven't tested that out. But I do know the trigger pull is a lot lighter because of the gauge and because I have the other 75 series to compare to. So for $50, this is a great upgrade. There's not a lot of work to it, but it is kind of difficult compared to your basic striker fired Glock, I would say. So once you get past the learning curve of how to take it apart and put it back together, I highly recommend one of these mats because it has all the parts named, diagram, everything, even the little pins. And the other 75 series are very similar. So I use this for the SPO1, and there's some of the parts that are different, but most of them are the same. So I highly recommend getting one of these mats. It'll help you learn the parts names and how they go together and what they're called by what they look like. So highly recommend one of these mats. So back to the parts. I bought these individually. You can buy kits, but I knew which parts I wanted to change after learning from the SPO1. I have the SPO1 right here on the side. I did get more recoil springs because I tried the 14 on the SPO1 before I put the regular kit in, because the recoil spring on this was so heavy I wanted to test out something small before I dove into it too deep. So here it is right here, and the single action trigger pull is now 3.5 pounds. I changed the recoil spring. The factory one is like 20 pounds. I just put a 10-pound one in there, and it is super easy now to pull back and rack the slide. It's ludicrously easy now. So with the 75B, I also got a different recoil spring in here before I've put the rest of the kit in. So this one comes with like a 16-pound. Now this one is way easier factory than this one, leaps and bounds. But now this one, I had a 12-pound that I tried, and this one is only marginally better. This one came with like a 16-pound, but still it's a little lighter, but it's not as noticeable difference, obviously, because this went from 20 to 10. So they do make an 11-pound one also. So I have 10, 12, and 14. Factory one here was 16, that one was 20. So they're also different lengths too. So if you were to look at the recoil spring factory to these two, they're different lengths. So just some of the things that I've learned with the 75 series. Now I got the specific parts I wanted for the 75B, and I used this as a template. So I got the floating trigger pin, which is this part here, all metal instead of, you see it's hollow here. So when you knock this out, you'll see it's hollow. So the trigger return spring is connected through this. So that's kind of a weak point in the design. So that's why you get this full metal one here. I did get the Cajun Gun Works firing pin that does come with the reduced power spring, firing pin spring. It doesn't say that on the packaging, but when you look at the 75 SPO1 or when I take this apart, you'll see it's much bigger and thicker. So when you buy the kit came with this, but it doesn't come with the firing pin that I got for the basic spring kit. So I just bought the firing pin, which I didn't buy for this one, which I probably will do the upgrade. This is the plunger spring, reduced power trigger return spring, and the hammer spring. So a few different springs and the floating trigger pin. There is more that you can do, like single action trigger, which I may or may not do in the future. Then there's also, you can change the hammer and you can change some of the sear cage stuff. I think the only thing left to do that I'm going to want to do is first test this one out, and then I'm going to think about getting the Cajun Gun Works firing pin for it, and then also get the adjustable sear cage and get that along with the different hammer. So I think those would be kind of the other two things going forward that I may or may not want to mess with this one or not. I still haven't tested this out, but I do have ideas to get the adjustable sear cage, and I kind of just want to leave this one with the basic kit, and I want to go all out on this one. Like, I want to keep building on this and eventually get it to the single action with all the doodads and everything. And this one, I just want to improve, and I think that's what this basic kit that I put together is going to do. So we'll see. I don't think it's going to be as difficult as this one because I've already struggled taking this one apart and put it together, and this one only has one single safety. So I think as far as disassembling and reassembling, I think this is going to be a cakewalk this time, and I'm looking forward to the change in performance and then comparing the two. So stay tuned for the follow-up episodes.